The laundry was warm in my hands, fresh from the dryer, a small comfort on a gray December afternoon. I was halfway through folding Ethan's shirts, neat little stacks for him, Harper, Noah, when my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced over. A text from Mom. Susan, practical Susan, always keeping things in line. Hey, honey, just a heads up, Christmas is going to be simple this year. Money's tight, so we won't be doing big gifts, just the essentials. I stared at the screen, my fingers tightening around the soft cotton in my lap. It wasn't a shock. My parents, Susan and Mark, had always been sensible about Christmas. No extravagant trees, no piles of presents spilling out like in the movies. They didn't splurge, didn't go overboard. But this year, something about it felt off, final, like a door closing before I even knew it was there. I swallowed, forced a smile no one could see, and typed back, "Of course, no worries, the kids will understand." Because... what else could I say? Ethan and I weren't exactly drowning in money either. A mechanic and a part-time office clerk don't rake it in. But we made it work. For Harper and Noah, our 8-year-old twins, Christmas was always special. We saved all year, pennies here, dollars there, picking out thoughtful gifts. A Lego set for Noah, a sketchbook for Harper. Wrapped them with care, red paper, and too much tape under our little tree. Not extravagant, but magical. The kind of magic that lights up their faces, makes the cold mornings worth it. I set the phone down, went back to folding. The hum of the house filled the silence, Ethan tinkering in the garage, the twins giggling upstairs over some game. I told myself it was fine. Family isn't about gifts, right? It's about being together. That's what Mom and Dad always said, what I'd always believed. So why did my chest feel tight? Why did simple sound like less this time? I shook it off, smoothed out a wrinkle in Harper's sweater. They were right. Money's tight. It made sense. But as I stacked the clothes, that word, essentials, kept circling in my head. Essentials. Like we were rationing love instead of dollars. I pushed it down, buried it under the next shirt. Christmas would be fine. Small, quiet, ours. The kids would understand, just like I told Mom. They always did. They had to. Because if I let myself think too hard about that text, about what it really meant, I wasn't sure I'd keep folding. I wasn't sure I'd keep smiling. 2 days after Christmas, the house felt lazy, soft. Harper and Noah were sprawled on the living room floor, piecing together their new toys, simple stuff, a puzzle, a toy car, gifts we'd stretched to afford. Ethan was under the kitchen sink, muttering at a leaky faucet, his tool box clanking. I was on the couch scrolling through my phone, just passing the time. The tree lights blinked in the corner, our little haven of normal. Then I saw it. Claire's post. My sister. "Best Christmas ever," the caption screamed, plastered over a carousel of photos. I tapped it, curious. The first image hit me like a slap. Mom and Dad's living room, but not how I knew it. Transformed. A massive tree twinkling with white lights, its branches sagging under shiny gold and red ornaments. Gifts spilled onto the floor, a mountain of them, wrapped in elegant silver and gold paper, ribbons curling like they'd been styled for a magazine. Ava and Sophie, Claire's girls, 10 and 7, sat in the center of it all, tearing into boxes. Designer sneakers, high-end electronics, a brand new tablet in Sophie's hands, her grin wide enough to split the screen. I froze. My heart started pounding loud in my ears. We hadn't been invited. No one had mentioned a family Christmas. For us, it had been quiet. Just me, Ethan, the twins. A simple dinner, turkey and mashed potatoes, nothing fancy. Modest gifts exchanged on our worn-out couch, watching Rudolph on repeat. No grandparents, no cousins, no big celebration. Because apparently we weren't part of the family this year. I scrolled again, hoping I'd misunderstood. Maybe this was last year, some reused post. But no. The timestamp glared back, December 25th, this year, this Christmas. My thumb hovered over the screen. Another photo, Mom laughing, Dad handing Ava a box, Claire snapping the shot. A perfect little scene. I checked my messages. Nothing from Mom, nothing from Dad. No invite, no mention, no, "Hey Luna, wish you were here." I swallowed hard. Had they even thought about Harper and Noah while Ava and Sophie unwrapped hundreds, maybe thousands, of dollars in gifts? Had they even cared? My stomach twisted, sick and hot. They'd lied, not just about the money, not just about the gifts. They'd lied about what we meant to them. That text. Money's tight, just the essentials. It wasn't a heads up. It was an excuse. A way to keep us out while they poured everything into Claire's kids. I wasn't angry at Ava and Sophie. They were just kids, oblivious. I wasn't even angry at Claire. I'd long accepted she was the golden child. Always had been. But Mom and Dad? The people who raised me, who drilled into me that Christmas wasn't about gifts, that family mattered most. They'd excluded us. Deliberately. Let my kids believe Christmas had to be small, simple, because there was no other choice. Meanwhile, for Claire's girls, it was grand, extravagant, a fairy tale. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow. The twins' laughter faded into background noise. Ethan's wrench clinked, but it felt far away. I didn't want to assume the worst. Maybe there was an explanation, maybe. But deep down, I knew. They'd made a choice, and it wasn't us. My fingers moved before I could stop them. Contacts, Mom, block. Dad, block. Not in anger, not in pettiness, but because sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most hurt you deepest. And this year, my Christmas gift to myself was peace. I set the phone down, screen dark. Harper giggled, holding up a puzzle piece. Noah raced his car across the rug. Ethan poked his head out, grease on his cheek. "You good?" I nodded, barely. The tree lights blinked on, steady, like nothing had changed. But everything had. Everything. Days blurred after that. I went through the motions, cooking, cleaning, playing with Harper and Noah. But it felt hollow. The betrayal sat in my chest, heavy, a stone I couldn't swallow. Ethan noticed. That night, as we tucked the twins into bed, he caught me staring at the wall. Lost. "You okay?" he asked, his voice careful, like he knew I might break. "Yeah, just tired," I lied, pressing a kiss to Harper's forehead before flicking off the light. He didn't push, but I saw it. His brow furrowed, watching me too close. He knew I wasn't fine. How do you say it out loud? My own parents don't care about me. How do you admit you weren't just left out? You were discarded? I couldn't. Not yet. I expected something. Mom calling, Dad texting, some excuse to soften it. But nothing. Silence stretched, thick and empty. At first I thought Mom would try, maybe say, "Luna, it's a misunderstanding." But no. Then Claire's name lit up my phone. I let it ring. It rang again and again until a text popped through. "I saw that you blocked Mom and Dad. What is wrong with you?" I stared at it, my pulse hammering. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "We should talk." Just accusation. What was wrong with me? Me? I gripped the phone, knuckles white, sitting on the edge of our bed. The house was quiet, kids asleep, Ethan downstairs. That message burned. They'd cut us out. Me, Ethan, the twins. And Claire had the nerve to turn it on me. Like I was the problem for noticing, for feeling it. I didn't reply. Couldn't. My head spun with it all. Those photos, the tree, the gifts, the lie. Ethan found me there, still clutching the phone. He sat beside me, close, but not crowding. She texted, huh? He guessed. I nodded. They didn't even try to deny it, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He exhaled, sharp. They don't get to do this to you, Luna. Not to you, not to the kids. I looked at him, his steady eyes holding mine. He was right, but it didn't lift the weight. I keep thinking maybe I got it wrong, I admitted, voice cracking. Maybe they had a reason. But even as I said it, I knew. No reason justified this. They'd chosen Claire, her girls, left us in the cold. Ethan's jaw tightened. They didn't, and you know it. I did. Deep down, I did. The silence from them wasn't guilt, it was indifference. They didn't care enough to explain, to fight for us, and that hurt more than the lie itself. The next morning, the weight hadn't lifted. It pressed harder, a dull ache behind my ribs as I stood at the kitchen sink, staring at the dishes I hadn't touched. Ethan shuffled in, coffee mug in hand, his hair still mussed from sleep. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me, the way he always did when he knew I was unraveling. I turned to him, the words spilling out before I could stop them. They didn't even try to deny it, I said, my voice low, trembling. Not a call, not a text. Nothing. He set the mug down, slow and deliberate, then crossed the room to stand beside me. They knew what they were doing, Luna, he said, his tone firm but gentle, cutting through the fog in my head. And they don't care that it hurt you. His words landed like a punch, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. I leaned against the counter, gripping the edge, my knuckles whitening. I'd spent the night replaying it, Claire's text, Mom's silence, Dad's absence, searching for a crack, some excuse to cling to, but there wasn't one. I keep trying to tell myself maybe I misunderstood, I admitted, my voice cracking. Maybe they had a reason, Ethan. Maybe it wasn't on purpose. He shook his head, sharp and final, cutting off my spiral. Stop. Stop making excuses for them. They made a choice. His eyes locked on mine, steady, unyielding, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. He was right. They'd chosen Claire, chosen Ava and Sophie, chosen to lie to me, to us, while Harper and Noah got scraps. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. I exhaled, shaky, the truth settling in my bones. My phone sat on the counter, Claire's message still unanswered. I grabbed it, opened the thread, and typed, my fingers trembling but sure. They told me they couldn't afford Christmas gifts for my kids this year, but they could afford a full celebration for yours. They could afford luxury presents, decorations, a party, but not even an invite for us. Explain that to me. I hit send, my breath catching as the words flew out into the void. Her reply came fast, too fast, like she'd been waiting. It's not a big deal, Luna. Mom and Dad just wanted to do something nice for the girls. You're overreacting. I stared at it, my stomach dropping. Overreacting. The word burned, a slap dressed up as a shrug. Not a big deal. To her, to them. My kids' small Christmas, our quiet dinner, my trust, all of it disposable. I felt the heat rise in my chest, indignation flaring bright and sharp. This wasn't just about gifts or money. This was how they saw me. Less than, the afterthought, the one who didn't count. Ethan leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. She's full of it, he muttered, his voice tight. They all are. I nodded, slow, the realization sinking deeper. For the first time, I stopped pretending otherwise. I didn't owe them my silence, my forgiveness, my excuses. I typed one last time, my hands steady now. I hope Ava and Sophie had a great Christmas. Mine had to settle for small and simple because that's what Mom and Dad said we could afford. Now I know where I stand. Don't contact me again. Send. Then, without hesitation, I blocked her too. It wasn't anger driving me, not revenge. It was done. Done begging for scraps of love. Done pretending I mattered to them. done waiting for fairness that had never come. Ethan squeezed my shoulder, a quiet anchor. "You're enough, Luna," he said. And for the first time in days, I believed it. Later that day, the kitchen smelled like pancakes, a distraction I'd thrown together to keep my hands busy. Harper and Noah sat at the table, syrup sticky fingers and bright eyes, their chatter filling the room. 8 years old, so full of life, so unaware of the storm in my head. But I couldn't hide it forever, not from them. I took a deep breath, set the spatula down, and turned to face them. "Hey guys," I said, soft but steady. "Can we talk for a minute?" Noah looked up, frowning, a drip of syrup on his chin. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Harper tilted her head, her sketchbook forgotten beside her plate. I pulled out a chair, sat between them, my heart thudding. They deserved the truth, or as much as I could give, without breaking theirs. "I just want to talk about something important," I started, folding my hands on the table. "About family." Harper's eyes widened. "Are we in trouble?" she asked, her voice small. I smiled, soft, reaching for her hand. "No, sweetheart, not at all, but I learned something a little too late, and I want you to know it now." They sat up straighter, listening, their trust pinning me in place. I swallowed the lump in my throat and pressed on. Family isn't just about who you're related to. It's about the people who show up for you, who make you feel loved, not just when it's easy, but always. Noah nodded, slow, like he was piecing it together. "Like you and Daddy?" he said. My chest ached, warm and tight. "Exactly," I replied, squeezing his little hand. "Like us." Harper bit her lip, quiet for a beat, then asked, "Is this about Grandma and Grandpa?" I hesitated, caught off guard, but nodded. "Yes, it is." They exchanged a glance, young but not blind. They'd noticed the silence, the absence, even if they didn't have words for it. "They didn't come for Christmas," Noah said, poking at his pancake. Harper frowned, adding, "And they didn't get us anything." I swallowed again, harder, the sting of it fresh. "They love you," I said carefully, because I'd never let them think otherwise. "But sometimes people don't know how to show love the right way. And when they keep hurting you on purpose, you have to decide if you still want them in your life." Noah tilted his head. "Like when someone's mean at school and doesn't stop?" I nodded, my heart twisting. "Just like that." Harper was quiet, her eyes glistening, not with sadness for them, but with understanding. Then she asked, soft, "So, are we still seeing them?" I looked between them, their faces so open, so trusting, and felt the weight of my choice settle. Right, real. "No, sweetheart," I said, steady. "We're not." Harper's tears spilled over, silent, and Noah just nodded, relieved almost. I pulled them close, their sticky hands on mine, and to my surprise, Harper whispered, "Okay." Then Noah perked up. "Can we make more pancakes now?" I let out a laugh, watery but real, the tension breaking like a dam. "Yes, baby, we can." They scrambled off their chairs, giggling about chocolate chips, the heaviness lifting with their steps. I stayed at the table, watching them, feeling something shift inside me. I wasn't fixing what was never mine to mend. I was breaking the cycle, for them, for me. It wasn't the end of family. It was the start of one that mattered, the best gift I could give. 2 weeks had passed since I'd blocked them, 2 weeks of quiet that should have felt like peace but didn't, yet. I was in the living room, sorting Harper and Noah's school papers, when the mail slid through the slot. An envelope caught my eye, Mom's handwriting, Susan's neat cursive spelling out my name. My stomach twisted, a reflex I couldn't shake. I should have tossed it, unopened, but curiosity or habit won. I tore it open, the paper crisp under my fingers. "Luna, honey," it began, and I stopped, already bristling at the word. Honey, after everything. I forced myself to keep reading. I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. Families have disagreements, but they always come back together. We never meant to hurt you. You're overreacting. There it was again. Overreacting. Like Claire's text, like a script they'd all rehearsed. We thought you understood things have been hard financially. We didn't have enough for a big Christmas for everyone. So we did what we could. Claire's been struggling too. Why are you punishing us for that? I let out a short, bitter laugh, folding the letter back with care, as if it could bite. Punishing them. They'd spun it so neatly, money tight, Claire the victim, me the bad guy. But I'd seen the photos, the tree, the gifts, the extravagance. They'd had enough for that, for Ava and Sophie, but not for us. Not even an invite. I dropped it in the trash. The thud final. My jaw tight. 3 days later, my phone buzzed. Aunt Diane, Mom's older sister. Hey, Luna, her text read. I just talked to your mom. She's really upset, crying over this. She doesn't understand why you're being so harsh. You know how much she loves you, right? I rolled my eyes, the guilt trip as predictable as rain in spring. Where were those tears when Harper and Noah sat by our little tree, unwrapping a puzzle in a car? Where was that love when I found out through Claire's post they'd cut us out? I took a deep breath, typed back, steady. She's not upset because she hurt me, Diane. She's upset because I finally stood up for myself. If you can't see that, stop being her messenger. Send. I set the phone down, my hands still. They weren't crying for me. They were crying because I'd stopped playing along, stopped letting them decide my worth. No apology, no accountability, just more manipulation. I was done swallowing it. Done. Late February brought a thaw, the kind that softens the ground and the air, a promise of something new. I was wiping down the counter when my phone buzzed, a message from Aunt Emily, Dad's younger sister. She'd always been different, outside the family's tangle of games, kind in a quiet way we'd never leaned on. Hey, Luna, it read. I know things have been rough with your parents. I just want you to know I see you. If you and the kids ever want to come over for dinner, my door's always open. I stared at it, my heart tightening, not with dread, but something softer, unexpected. No guilt, no demands, just an offer. I thought about it all day, turning it over like a stone in my hand. By evening, I replied, that'd be really nice. Hope flickered, faint but real, and the next weekend, Ethan and I packed Harper and Noah into the car, driving to Emily's house an hour away. It wasn't grand like Mom and Dad's place, no sprawling lawn, no polished floors, but it was warm, the kind of warm that seeps into your bones. The smell of roast chicken hit us as Emily opened the door, her face lighting up. You made it, she said, bending down to the twins. You two must be freezing. Come inside, I made hot chocolate. Harper grinned, Noah tugged Ethan's hand, and they bounded in, already at ease. Emily led me to the kitchen while Tom, her husband, set up a board game with the kids. The room smelled like herbs and comfort, a pot simmering on the stove. She handed me a mug, her eyes gentle. I know you don't want to talk about it, she said, but I don't agree with what they did to you. I clutched the mug, the heat grounding me, and the words slipped out. They don't even think they did anything wrong. She sighed, stirring the pot. Of course they don't. That's how they are, expecting everyone to cater to them, forgive them, without accountability. I nodded, swallowing hard. They didn't just do it to me, I said, quieter. They did it to my kids. Her eyes softened, sad but sure. And that's why you're doing the right thing, protecting Harper and Noah from people who only love when it suits them. That's the best choice you could make. I took a shaky breath, her words settling deep. Then why does it still hurt? I asked, barely a whisper. She set the spoon down, turned to me. Because you're a good person, Luna. Good people hope for better. But sometimes, the best thing you can do is accept they won't change and stop waiting for them to. I looked out at the living room, Tom laughing as Noah invented rules, Harper giggling with a mug too big for her hands, and something clicked. Maybe I hadn't lost family. Maybe I'd found it, the kind that deserved the name. Dinner was loud and easy, plates clattering, stories flowing, no tension lurking underneath. Ethan caught my eye across the table, a small smile saying he felt it too. As we drove home, the kids asleep in the back, he squeezed my hand. "You okay?" he asked. I smiled, soft but real. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." Because maybe family wasn't blood. It was who showed up, who loved without conditions, who made space without making you beg for it. A year turned over, spring melting into Easter, the air sweet with new grass. We spent the weekend at Emily's, the kids racing around her backyard, hunting eggs in the sun. I sat on the porch with her, coffee warming my hands, watching Harper and Noah shriek with every find. "This is nice," Emily said, her voice light. "Having family around." I smiled, nodding. "Yeah, it is," she hesitated, then added, "I know it's not the same, Luna. I know you might still miss them in some ways." I thought about it, the question hanging there. Did I miss Mom and Dad? Or did I miss the idea of them, the parents I'd wanted, not the ones they'd been? I took a deep breath, letting the breeze carry the weight away. "No," I said, honest and clear. "I don't." For the first time, it was true. I'd stopped expecting calls, stopped bracing for guilt trips. I'd given myself closure, built a life with Ethan, the twins, Emily, people who showed up. That night, alone in our quiet house, I pulled out my phone. Old photos of Mom, Dad, Claire stared back. Smiles I'd once chased, moments I'd held on to. I scrolled, slow, then started deleting. One by one, they vanished, not out of anger, not spite, but because I didn't need them anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't waiting. I'd let go. The screen went blank, and I exhaled, deep and free. The next morning, I was packing lunches, peanut butter for Noah, turkey for Harper, when she piped up from the table. "Mommy, will we ever see Grandma and Grandpa again?" I paused, her voice so small, so innocent. Noah looked up, curious, his sandwich half-eaten. I set the knife down, turned to them, and crouched to their level. "I don't know, baby," I said, honest. "Maybe someday, but I don't miss them." Noah tilted his head. "You don't?" I shook my head, soft. "I miss what I thought we had," I said. "But I love what we have, now even more." Harper nodded, wise beyond her 9 years, and it was enough. They went back to their lunches, chatter filling the air, and I stood, lighter than I'd been in months. A year had built something better. Dinners with Emily, game nights with Tom, traditions with Ethan and the kids. I'd stopped chasing love from people who wouldn't give it, stopped waiting for approval that never came. The best revenge wasn't bitterness, it was happiness. And I'd found it, not in spite, but in spite of them. I closed the lunchbox lids, smiled at the normal, beautiful chaos of my little family, and knew I was done looking back.